for taking the time to speak with us. I know you have a lot of these today, so we can get right into it. So you're going to be joining us here in New Zealand for Armageddon and this year, 2017, for 2 shows, I believe, in both Tauranga and Wellington. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
All right. Have you been here before?
Yeah, I went to Auckland about, I want to say 4 years ago, I think it was, maybe 4, for another event. It was actually an Armageddon event, but that was not without the sword experience. So
sure.
This is, it was a little different.
Yeah, this is a very unique thing that you're bringing to us, and we're very excited about it. Normally, when celebrities come and they have a bit of a chat with the fans and stuff, there isn't a lot of interaction involved. But what you're bringing to Armageddon is truly a much more intimate experience where people are actually learning from you. So that's quite interesting. What brought that on?
Well, a lot of people ask me about could I teach them sword work? Should I do a video on it, etc. I didn't. I didn't see the need at the time, and nor did I have the time to do it. And then about a year and a half ago, I started. Somebody mentioned something to me, and I thought, oh yeah, actually, right now it's kind of, there are a lot of other sword things on there, and there's such a multitude of different sword events out there. And I just kind of held one con. I happened to hold a class that got 30 people in a heartbeat. And I was like, well, let me just try this a little bit more. And I started going to different cons and started offering it. And then I called it the Sword Experience. Literally about just over a year ago, we formed a company called the Sword Experience because I realized there's not very, I don't think there's very many, if any, companies out there that offer a fan or a martial artist or a sword person the opportunity to learn a sword fight from the movies, get photographed and filmed so that you can take a memory home with you of doing a sword fight with, a bunch of other people on a cool location. So we travel around now from con to con, but also different places that we're holding it. For instance, in the summer, we have them all in castles in the UK and Ireland and France. So it's kind of grown a lot in a year to really sort of give people an experience, first of all, what it's like between the movies and real sword fighting, an ideology really in how to sort of attack a problem and have a great time doing it, have a workout doing it, and get memories with photographs and a video at the end of it to take home.
Nice. I'm just imagining doing this course in a castle would be just kind of a wonderful throwback as well. That'd be a very unique experience unto itself.
Yeah, well, we're doing, for instance, our European tour, which is our first tour that we're going to be doing, is in Ireland. It's going to be at Castle Trim, which is where they shot Braveheart.
Yes. And
then England is going to be Warwick Castle, where Norman the Conqueror built it, and it was the seat of power in England for hundreds of years. Then it goes on to Hopetoun Castle, Hopetoun House actually, where they shot Outlander, and then to Chantilly in France, where we shot Highlander, and then ending it at the Castle Kings in the Loire Valley in France. So it's kind of, to get the culture, to get the other experiences that are around. That's why we call it the sword experience. So there's a whole tour. On the other days you're not doing the sword experience, you've got a whole bunch of other things you can do.
Cool. Now, a lot of people that will be seeing you at Armageddon know you from your acting experience. And when I brought this to the table and said, what kind of questions does everyone want to put out? When we have these conversations with the celebrities and actors and the like, for me, it's an experience for the people listening as well. So I like to know what they want to find out. And the most intriguing one that came up was, right, he's an actor, and we like his work, but what does he know about actual fighting? He's just an actor. So I had to kind of go to bat because I know your history there. But for people who don't necessarily know what kind of physical history you have with martial arts and sword fighting, could you just give them just a little bit of a hint of that so that they know that it's not just a random actor going in and swinging a sword at them?
Well, I've done this for 25 years. I'll start with that. I've done martial arts for 25 years. I studied with Hung Gar Kung Fu and a Shaolin priest, and studied with some of the best sword choreographers and martial artists that have been on TV or film. I studied European fencing to Chinese weaponry from butterfly blades to staff or spear to Japanese sword and Chinese sword, not Japanese sword, as well as Japanese sword from the Korean arts and from the Japanese arts. So I've had a lot of training in various forms, which really all apply the same to each different form. There's only really 8 different cuts. Doesn't matter which way you are. Like a martial art teacher said to me once, he said, you take what you can and you use what you can, but each person has a different thing that they use. It might be a long sword or a double bladed sword, or it might be it's all used for a specific task, and how you use it is really dependent on what you want to use it for. Sure. So, and if you're going to try and kill somebody, there are only really like 8 different angles with variants that, that matter. It doesn't matter what sword you've got, whether you've got a saber or a katana or, two double Chinese butterfly knives. Sure.
So for the sword experience, obviously this is a hands-on sort of activity. Is there a certain athletic ability that's required for it, or is it sort of open to pretty much anyone?
Yeah, I've had people, I've done hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people come through the sword experience now, and we've had the youngest I've had, I think, is 12 years old. We usually don't take people less than 15 without a note from the parents signing off on it. Sure. Because otherwise they get too small for them. Up to people that are 70 years old. I've had old ladies, young young guys, martial artists, stage combat instructors, HEMA practitioners, which is the history of European martial arts. Yes. They study all the weaponry. I've had such a variety of people, and I think it's the same thing as what my teacher said to me one time. He said, a martial artist is like a painter. You paint with different colors, and so people come to me from different walks of life to just add another string to their bow, or just to sort of have fun one day or get a workout, because it's definitely a workout. It's not a stroll in the park.
Right. And now I know some people have this impression that they're going to go to a class and just bang around and smack each other with, wooden swords or something like that. Since we don't want to give that impression, clearly, could you give us just a brief overview of what the course will involve? Because it's a half-a-day course, so it's quite involved. Just a really, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but just a brief overview of it.
Well, it's about 3.5 hours. By the time you finish the check-in and check-out, it'll end up being 4 hours, at least 4.5. And what you get is you'll be taken through a series of safety techniques, through a series of relaxation techniques, because sword fighting is not about strength. Right. It's about finesse and relaxation to get your mind clear on what you have to do. And then you get taught the one side, the class is split in two, and you get taught half the class is taught one side of the choreographed fight that we picked from a specific film. The one we're using in Tauranga and Wellington is from the Highlander, because it was actually set in a stadium. So we did it Highlander, the Vampire is where we took it from. And so once each side has learnt those moves, they then get paired up back into their pairs, and they start to work the fight as a team. And once they've done that for an hour or so, hour and a half, we then break them up and then take them into a different area and put them in front of a backdrop where we film them doing the finale, whether it's singularly or with several other people. I've had 50 people fighting all at once. or I've had singles, pairs, or two pairs, or three pairs. Depends on the location where I'm using. So it really depends on the location and how many people I have in the class.
Well, it certainly does sound like a fun experience, but also quite an intense workout. I mean, an hour of straight swordplay it's as a martial artist myself, that's nothing to laugh at. That's quite a bit of work.
You can, most people, if anybody wants to have a look at what it is, you can go to our YouTube page, and it has every single event we did last year and up to our last recent event in Salt Lake City. We had two events in Salt Lake City because the first one sold out. So all those events, you can get a really good taste of what the sword experience is all about just by looking at the YouTube site.
Yeah, and we'll link to that so that people can check that out. I also recommend they look at the reviews, because the reviews that for people who have attended are just astounding. The comments and remarks of how much fun people have had and how much they've actually learned, the intricacies and the difficulties of that sort of film stage combat versus what you may learn in a more of a dojo experience. It's quite unique.
Well, the funny thing is, I've had martial artists come to me and do this, and I've had martial art teachers take the course as well. The experience. I don't want to call it a course. And they said, it's really good to see it in a totally different setting rather than sitting in a dojo and learning something, because your mind opens up to something totally different at that point. And I think that's what I was talking about before about learning something or adding something to your bow, which you then can go back and utilize for your own specific needs, whether as in the katas you do, or whether it's your everyday life and how you deal with a situation.
Anyone who's interested in the physicality of it I definitely would recommend it. And also, just if you're an action fan or a fan of like fantasy films and that sort of thing, attending something like this just broadens your mind. It really gives you a great appreciation of how difficult that kind of work for an actor can be. Quite often we hear during interviews actors say, I studied to do this martial arts, or I did this thing for 3 or 4 months or 6 months or whatever. And it doesn't always sink in the difficulty of what a person has to physically go through to be able to achieve that seamless look on screen. So I do recommend it for anyone else who's kind of interested in just that genre in general.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the comments we get, is like they're like, oh, now I see what you guys do.
It's not just memorizing lines and running around. It's quite a bit of work.
The other factor is the safety factor, because you are doing that, and there are several layers to this. It's not just about swinging swords or being. You got to have safety factor in your rehearsals. Be aware of your space so that you're not poking anybody else out who might happen to be just walking by. We have a saying which is respect your weapon and respect your opponent. 2 reasons. One is respect your weapon, because that can save your life. Respect your opponent because they can end it, or they can make you a lot of money depending on how you look.
Fair enough.
So it's kind of something that we tend to highlight, is the fact that it can make you a lot of money if you want to do that. It's a great workout if you just want to take it for the workout physicality, but it does give you an insight into what it takes to really do some of these battles that people do. And obviously on film, you can quite easily see the difference between the reality and the stage presence of sword fighting. It is different, and you can tell quite easily in the technique somebody has as to what their expertise is. Sure.
It does seem more recently where that more realistic combat seems to be sort of becoming the norm in things that are shot. And does that really alter, as an actor, has that altered the way you have to think about combat in film or on TV?
Yes and no. I mean, I think, when we were doing Highlander, we were one of the first shows that did over 100 episodes as a co-production. And one of the things we really sort of stuck out, I mean, you have to elongate a fight to a degree, because otherwise it's not as interesting on film as it is in real life, where it's only like maybe 1 or 2 cuts and it's over. Now what they've created to create that reality and Fiction is that they'll have multiple people coming at somebody at one time,
Sure.
and that person's now taking out 3 or 4 people at one or two cuts. So the reality portion of it is in there, and we tried to keep it as much as we could in the time that we had. But they've taken it to a new level now, and I think there's a lot of great sword fights out there, and some great choreographers, and some fantastic fight scenes that are being shot.
Now, for people who know you as an actor, that's one thing. But I think as part of this is very much the sort of experience of a production that you're putting on a regular basis as well. People may not necessarily know that you are a producer for film and TV, as well as doing the sort of experience and the acting and things like that. And you've got your hand in a lot of action that's just all over the place in that regard. So it's quite diverse. How does putting on a production like this versus actually producing something in like a short-term cinematic, how does that differ?
Well, we have a much bigger crew when we do a cinematic. I mean, I film all of the sword experiences, so I'm learning as a filmmaker as well what I can and cannot do in my editing. We're trying to now to sort of increase the quality of certain things that we do. So, as a filmmaker, I'm kind of looking at frames, and I'm shooting this literally on the fly.
Right.
So it gives you a great. As you keep looking at the dailies, you see all the things you've done wrong. So it really keeps your knife sharpened to be filming something every couple of weeks of this nature, and you try and make something better, and you try and make something what worked, what didn't work. You realize that some people that don't have as much, and this is what the same applies in film, that don't have as much experience or not as fast or not as good, they need to get covered tighter so that they look better when they do it. The people that have the ability to do it, you can sit back and do it and do a slower shot, so you allow the sword work to so you really get to learn certain angles and things on film as we shoot. And production is production. You still need to edit it. You still need to pre-produce it, make sure that you've got the right things that you've got to do. So as I said, it's a fair production to get everything going, and the more successful we are, the better we will get with producing things that can be 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute videos that people want to watch, because we've created something that is a little bit more interesting than what we first started with.
Right, and as people will be most interested in from that aspect is that you're producing a very tight, short clip for them, essentially. So that's also part of that unique experience that to say, Adrian Paul made my film kind of thing, my sword fighting film. So so it's a little tag on there also. But it's a really cool and interesting thing. We for all the conventions and stuff that we've gone to and attended and interviewed and stuff, there really aren't many hands-on experiences in that regard where people actually get to interact not only with the situation that around them or whatever the topic is, but with someone that they're actually there to meet and greet and things like that. Do you get much interaction with the people attending, or is it more of a I show you do kind of thing?
No, I get it. I make sure that everybody gets time. So the interaction happens during the event. I mean, I don't sit and chat about life. I sit and chat about doing right and wrong.
Sure.
How to improve it. People ask me questions afterwards when we take the time out to have a drink, water break, or sign some of the bugers that we have to sign. So there are questions asked after that. So I always think take your time with people, because they'll remember that for a long time.
Nice. And as I know we're getting to the end here, so for those who may think, all right, well, this is what you're doing now, don't be deceived, because you're still doing films. You've got a bunch of you have a couple in pre and a few in post-production. You're a very busy man. How do you find time to do that and then travel around and do these wonderful experiences as well?
Well, it's a real juggle. I have my each week I do a 2-hour radio show as well,
yes.
Which when I go to New Zealand, I'll be interviewing a couple of charities while I'm there, because that's part of my thing for 20 years now, that I've had my own charitable organization called the Peace Fund. And, now we have Peace Fund Radio, which highlights, different charities and different celebrities and different kids that are doing, you know, things in different areas around the world. So that's something else, but it's scheduling. You know, it's really scheduling. I'm really tight at the moment. You're right. I'm a little overburdened. I just, as I said, I did 3 small films that from December to now.
Yes.
I have another reality show that I host, which is about corporate America and its charities, and hopefully we're going to be continuing that. It's on Lifetime Network at the moment.
Sweet.
So I have, and then I've got my production company, which is out of Europe, which we're hoping to get funding on some of the films that we have. So we're just waiting for that to happen. So yeah, I'm still very deeply into the film, but this is something that is, you know, is fun to do. And as I move it forward, it could be a very interesting, you know, business to take, which is, you know, like a hobby or something I like to do. So, you know, it's, it gives me a 2-in-1 result there.
Nice. Well, we hope you don't disappear from our screens as well. It's been a pleasure watching your career continue with seemingly no end. You've never had a lull at this point, so it's quite nice to see you keeping going. I do have one last note. I know we're on the end now, so we'll wrap it up. I'm sure you have more interviews you have to do. I found a quote from quite a few years ago that I just wanted to address. It's not a shock line. It's when you were asked a role that you really wanted to play, you said, "I really want to play a vampire." Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, if I said it, I played it because I did afterwards.
I was going to say, you actually got to do that?
Yeah.
What was it like hitting that note where you're like, oh, okay, I ticked that bucket list. That's something I really wanted to do, and I got it sorted.
Yeah, it was, you know, vampires. It's like having I don't know. There's something mysterious about them in a sense. There's something sexy about them. There's something dangerous about them. There's something, you know, alluring. Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of fun. It was a fun thing, I guess, having seen them from being a kid. So I got to play one, but you know, again, each different vampire movie, and the one we did was very different than just a regular. Let's just suck some blood.
So, are there any roles that you haven't gotten to do yet that you were really just wanting to sink your teeth into at all? No pun intended.
I'm sure there's a whole list of them that you know, I say that I want to do, and I'm probably too old now to do them. So, but I don't know. You know, it's to me, it's what I'd like to do. Actually, you know, I'd like to go back to stage, to be honest, to do some more plays. But that's again, once I've got 2 kids now to put through school, so. You know, plays don't pay that cost. So.
Fair enough. Well, I hope the sword experience does.
Yeah, well, eventually, hopefully it does. Yeah, so that will allow me to go back to do some stage work as well, which then opens up a whole brand new avenue of things.
Right. Well, if you do hit the stage again, please bring a production to New Zealand. We'd love to see you as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And again, I do recommend anyone who is interested in any of this sort of genre, definitely come check it out. It's a wonderful experience, and it is very hands-on. It's very much you, without question. It definitely seems like an extension of your personality in general. So we're all looking forward to seeing you both in Tauranga and Wellington, and hopefully we can catch up when you're there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.